Hello and welcome to the Album Man, and today I'm going to be doing another installment in my top 50 bands of all time, and this time it's going to be from 20 to 11, so we're getting close to the top 10 now. We are now in the top 20, so let's see what comes in at number 20. So at number 20 is one of my favourite southern rock bands. There's two southern rock bands in fact in this episode, and the first of them is Black Stone Cherry, and this is their second album, Folklore and Superstition, which has Blind Man and Things My Father Said as notable songs, and I just love these ever since discovering them last year because they were supporting Alter Bridge. I just fell in love with this band. I think Chris Robertson has phenomenal vocals, the guitarist, everything, the drummer, really good, and they make the catchiest, just most fantastic southern rock songs. They're certainly a lot different to another famous southern rock band that I don't want to mention because we may or may not be talking about them a bit later. But yeah, they have that sort of melodic hard rock sense to them, and they just have the most catchiest choruses. And this isn't my favourite of their albums. My favourite of their albums is oh god, it was my album of the year in fact last year. Yes, my album of the year, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea, from last year. Fantastic album, absolutely fantastic. My album of the year definitely last year, and there were quite a few good albums. But yeah, I just absolutely love this band. Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea was the first album I had, with things like Killing Floor and White Trash Millionaire, and oh, it's just so many songs. Check out my review of it. One of my early reviews, I think, still when I had my good old microphone. But yeah, absolutely love Black Stone Cherry. Then at number 19, we head into some good old prog territory, even though this band never really called itself prog, but it is. And this is good old Marillion, but this is one of my, I don't know, sort of naughty ones. This is Marillion / Fish. So this includes all of Fish's solo works, albums like The 13th Star and Virgil in the Wilderness. I can't remember the full title of that. But his first album after Clutching at Straws. Yeah, here I have Clutching at Straws, the last Fish Marillion album. And I have here, this is a double of the first one, Script for a Jester's Tear. And the third one, Misplaced Childhood. And the second one's Fugazi. And I do like Steve Hogarth Marillion. I do own a few albums of theirs. And yeah, they're releasing a new album this year, which I definitely want to hear. But they're alright, but I absolutely love Fish Marillion. I mean, Clutching Straws and Misplaced Childhood, I just think both albums are absolute genius, especially Clutching Straws. It's one of my favourite albums. Absolutely love them. I think Fish has a fantastic voice and way of storytelling. And that's why I include him in this entry, because it really is just anything to do with Fish. I mean, yes, this category does include Steve Hogarth stuff as well. I don't want to wall out Steve Hogarth stuff. The first few albums of his are wonderful. Well, not quite wonderful, but they're certainly good albums. But I just find that middle period, a lot of the stuff, it's really there's a couple of good songs on the albums, but overall it's just meh. And the last album, yeah, it's just they're a lot more hit and miss. Albums like this are a lot more consistent. And yeah, I love me some Marillion. And then at number 18, we have a classic band from the 90s, the band that really sort of took the 90s by storm and is remembered as being synonymous with the 90s sound and the kings of the grunge scene, Nirvana. And here, weirdly, I have the MTV Unplugged in New York Nirvana album, as I just cannot find my copy of Nevermind. But yeah, I love Nirvana. I'm not a massive grunge fan, to be honest. Well, these are really the only grunge bands I like. I like some post-grunge stuff, as we'll see literally in the next entry. But I absolutely love Nirvana. I think Nevermind with Smells Like Teen Spirit and Polly, and just so many good songs, to be honest. You know, there's a lot of stuff just on here, you know, About a Girl, Come As You Are, Pennyroyal or Tea, On a Plane, just so much stuff I love. I don't even think they do some really good covers, like the cover of David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World. That's a fantastic cover. And the cover of Lake of Fire, I think that is a cover of Lake of Fire, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you know, Nirvana, great Kurt Cobain, even though he's very overrated as a guitarist. Not much of a guitarist, I would say. I don't think he's that talented. His solos are pretty basic stuff. He just uses a lot of basic stuff. Yes, he did have an interesting way of playing off chords, but a lot of it is fairly basic-ish stuff. And again, the approach to the lyric writing was again quite basic, but it just came together. They just had an energy to them and a passion, a vigour. It was just, yeah, just a really, really good band. At number 17 we have a post-grunge band, as I said, and a band that I've loved for many years, Seaver, and this is my favourite of their albums, Finding Beauty in Negative Spaces, and I love all their albums, really. Calm and Effect, Disclaimer, Finding Beauty. I'd say the weakest probably has to be Holding On To Strings, Best Left to Fred. I did do a review of that, check that out on my channel. One of my last, I think, to feature my microphone. And yeah, I just love the post-grunge sounds of these guys a lot, especially this album. Stuff like a Suicide, Fake It, No Jesus Christ, Rise Above This. And in my opinion, the second greatest cover in history, which is their cover of Careless Whisper. Well, certainly one of the best covers, maybe not quite that exact. And so I know, I mean, I think the best cover was Slow Gin by Joe Bonamassa. But Careless Whisper, the George Michael song, fantastically covered, only on the newer versions of this album. But yeah, I think this band, great. I've seen them, well, I've seen them once, and really good. Don't often tour the UK, not very big in the UK. Then at number 16, we have a classic 70s prog band, and this is just the first of their albums that came to hand, and yes, this is Rush, and here I have the latest release, Clockwork Angels, which I just happened to have at hand, so that's why I grabbed it. I'm not going to say my opinions on this album, as I'm going to be doing a review in the next few days. I just delayed the review because, well, it's a complicated, interesting album, and I wanted more time to analyse and to talk about it in more depth. But that will be coming soon. But yes, I mean, Rush, just a massive discography from their debut album Rush, which didn't even feature Neil Peart as drummer, to, of course, their present day Clockwork Angels. And they, you know, I would say my favourite Rush album, I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Maybe Grace Under Pressure. I'm not sure it's my favourite, but it's certainly one of my favourites, and I love 2112, mainly because of the title track, to be honest. I think that is one of the greatest songs of all time. Definitely Rush's opus, and just an absolute masterpiece of everything, of musicianship, of lyric writing, of singing, of just everything. It's an absolute masterpiece. And I just love a lot of Rush's stuff. You know, Farewell to Kings is fantastic, and I love the album before this, Snakes and Arrows, and yeah, you know, I absolutely adore Rush. I've only got into them quite recently, actually, only earlier this year, but loved everything I've heard of them, and I think they're a fantastic band. Then number 15, we have the classic band fronted by Freddie Mercury, which of course was Queen, who are now with Adam Lambert. But this clearly is classic Queen. We have News of the World here, and we have the debut album Queen on vinyl. And I adore Queen. I just think, you know, they just wrote such good songs. Maybe not as much particular albums, like an album like this. It starts out with, you know, We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. And, you know, it does have good songs like Spread Your Wings and It's Late. But some of the other stuff is pretty awful on this album. Well, not awful, but just not very good. Like Get Down, Make Love, Sleeping on the Sidewalk, Melancholy Blues, just... There's a lot of ropey stuff. They didn't particularly make, I'd say, great albums, but great songs. And when I mean great songs, I mean some of the best songs ever. I just think they made such fantastic songs, and I just love everything about Queen, to be honest. I think that Brian May, exceptionally talented guitarist, Freddie Mercury, the greatest frontman in history as far as I'm concerned, and one of the greatest vocalists ever. Phenomenal. Man, shame, you know, he died. I have seen Queen, but with Paul Rodgers. Yeah, I'm not a big Paul Rodgers fan, to be honest. I don't really like Free or Bad Company much. But they were decent. I just really, you know, was happy to see Roger Taylor and Brian May, to be honest, play live. But now they're going with Adam Lambert, and they've just taken it too far. Wish they'd just kill Queen off now, you know. Really wish they would. But yeah, you know, I do love Queen. At number 14, I said there'd be some Southern rockers, and indeed there are, with Leonard Skynyrd. And we've got some newer stuff with God and Guns, and we've got some older stuff with One More from the Road. So I'd say this is really the essential of the older, you know, classic Skynyrd. This is just one of my favourite live albums. I think it's just fantastic. It really just has everything you want. It has the definitive version of their best song, which of course is Freebird. And this was recorded in the Atlanta Fox Theatre and in 1976, and this really just captures them at their absolute best. And it's a fantastic live album, really well done. And then personally, my favourite Skynyrd album is God and Guns. It's one of my favourite albums of all time, in my top 10 for sure. And I just love it, absolutely adore this album, even though it doesn't even feature Ronnie Van Zant. And I think the only original member is Gary Rossington in this, which one of, you know, the guitarist. But yeah, I just love from Still Unbroken to Simple Life, Skynyrd Nation, That Ain't My America, God and Guns. Such a fantastic album. I think it deserves a lot more credit. It really was a massive return to form, and I can't wait for the album coming out in August, which I can't remember the name of. But yeah, love Leonard Skynyrd. Then number 13, we have some good old Elton John. I just have a greatest hits here, really, all I could you know, just pick up. And just such a fantastic, I think one of the greatest pianists ever. Phenomenally talented pianist. And you know, combined with Bernie Taupin's lyrics, and I just think the melodies he wrote on the piano and his absolutely fantastic voice, another one of the greatest vocalists ever. You know, from Your Song, Candle in the Wind, you know, the more ballady stuff, and then the, you know, more upbeat stuff like Crocodile Rock, Saturday Night, and Rocket Man, and The Bitch Is Back, and just so much fantastic stuff of Elton John. I could go on forever about how good he is and how much good stuff he has. But yeah, he's just one of the absolute classic artists, and I love him dearly. Then number 12, I just completely forgot to get a CD for these. Don't know why, but Muse. Even though the trailer of their new album scares the living daylights out of me, because that seems to feature dubstep, and I can't say the 13th Floor is now one of my most anticipated, even though it used to be. I just love Muse, especially Black Holes and Revelations. That's my favourite of their albums. But I just love so much of their stuff. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I think Matt Bellamy is an absolute genius, even if he can be a bit too pretentious at times, like his whole Exogenesis suite or symphony on Resistance. I can't say I was a big fan of the album Resistance. I'll probably do a review of it someday. It has some good songs like Uprising and Resistance, but except for that, not much that was that good. But yeah, I love Muse. I think Matt Bellamy is such a talented guitarist, got a great voice, and such a talented pianist as well. Really is an all-round talented man, and I think has the potential to be one of the greats. You know, I think Muse do have the potential to be just an absolute classic band that really will be one of the greats. But if they go down this dubstep route, then no, they'll soon fall out of favour with me. I mean, they'll still be one of my favourites, I love them. But yeah, I just hope they don't destroy themselves, because so far they're doing well. The Resistance was a little bit of a blip, but it was still Muse at the end of the day. And at number 11, the greatest band to have ever come from my hometown and, well, where I live currently, where I was born, which is of course Liverpool. And obviously the most famous and best band to come out of Liverpool has to be the Beatles. And I just love the Beatles. I have all their albums and I love them. This is, one of my favourite albums of theirs, Sgt. Pepper, Lonely Hearts Club Band. Even though it does have some weirdly stuff like Within You, Without You, the George Harrison song, which was not necessary at all. And the Beatles may have done some stupid things like release Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane as singles before this album instead of including them. Because if they were placed, I don't know, Lovely Rita and Within You, Without You with Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane, then this would probably be the best album ever. But with the Beatles, they just made so many good songs. I mean, just an absolute ton of good songs. Even though they only had a relatively short span, they really didn't last that long. And of course, no chance of a reunion anytime soon. In fact, then George and Lennon are dead. But I've heard the kids of the Beatles might be getting together to form a band, but it seems Ringo's kids don't really want to do that. So that'd be interesting. I think it'd be crap, but it'd be interesting. But yeah, the Beatles are a classic band. I mean, what's there to say about them that hasn't already been said? They're one of the great bands in history, and I think they deserve it. From the catchy choruses and they certainly could sing, and they could bloody well write a song. They may have been crap at playing instruments. I mean, Ringo, not a good drummer. George and Lennon, not good guitarists. I mean, of course, the famous thing that, for While My Guitar Gently Weeps on the White Album, Harrison was going to play a solo for it, but wasn't capable of playing the solo, so got Clapton to play it for him. Yeah, they were not a talented, instrumentally bunch of guys, but they could certainly write a song lyric-wise and write a catchy as hell chorus and sing. And for that, yeah, that's why they're iconic. They were massive at the time, and they're still world famous to this day. Yeah, that's why they are my 11th favourite band. I love the Beatles. So this has been a particularly long segment of my top 50 bands ever, but it's from 20 to 11, so I've got more to say about each band as I start loving them more dearly. But yes, next time it will be the final top 10. I'm sure most of you know what number 1 is, but you might not know, the other 9. So yeah, this has been the Album Man. Thanks for watching, and as usual, long live rock and roll.